Uh, I'm Shirley Webster, a resident of the Hillside neighborhood for many, many years. Uh, Started here as a teenager and always been very proud of the neighborhood. I was a part of the neighborhood before the change. It was always a very good neighborhood, integrated, schools, stores, many neighborhood stores, of course. We had a lot of in the past, but it was just a community where families were outside, the children played together. We went to school together, we walked to school back and forth. Parents knew one another. As we, of course, moved forward and became more prosperous, things changed like they do everywhere. So I was a part of when it was good, but I was also there when the interstate came through as a part of course, changing things for the better. Some, I'm sure it worked that way, but for the neighborhood itself, it just went through the neighborhood where it just caused such a division that, of course, many people moved out, and that just left a lot of vacant properties, and then a lot of properties were turned into rentals, and which the neighborhood really hated was, of course, a lot of government housing, which like the Section 8s and so forth, which we understand is much needed in many cases, but it does cause a problem when you move from mostly privately owned properties to where most people are renting. Saw that happen, saw the loss of business, and but somehow the neighborhood continued to remain. There were a lot of people that stayed, and probably because just could not afford the move. It always causes a burden, of course, for people that lack resource, which is basically monies. I'm not sure that's exactly why my dad and mom stayed, but we were comfortable there, and it just stayed. Many residents stayed. Hillside was just one part of a larger neighborhood, Martindale-Brightwood, which had about 4 major neighborhood associations at the time. Hillside was one of them. And there was Brightwood, Oak Hill, and then there was, I think, another association in Brightwood. But after a lot of time went by, we had a new mayor that came to town with an idea of revitalizing inner city again, and that was Goldsmith. He insisted that those neighborhoods had to come together and work as a unit. So Martindale-Brightwood, instead of it being sectioned off like Hillside here and Brightwood there, we would work as a coalition, work together. That's how we began to really work in the Brightwood neighborhood of getting some things done. The Community Development Corporation, of course, that was the leg of getting everything started, and many other things have happened since then that started the neighborhood to move towards revitalization. A lot of things happened in the interim, but then here we find ourselves here today. There was a lot of course, exodus from the neighborhood. Now we're finding ourselves where there's another type of exodus. People are returning to the neighborhood. There's always been, of course, a concern where we had a lot of people that ended up in our neighborhoods, of course, that had been in the penitentiaries, or for one reason or other, we found that they would come back to our communities. But to combat that, there was a resource center that was built in the Hillside area of Martindale-Brightwood, where it would offer resources to those that returned, hopefully to help them find jobs, this kind of thing. And I think that was a branch of this community development, which ended up as PACE, I believe, which is still active in our community. So a lot of things just calls for a lot of hard work, but there were a lot of hardworking people that were presidents of their neighborhood associations, hard workers in their associations that brought about a lot of just collaborating with the city and other arms that would bring about change. The change did not happen the way we had pictured it, of course. We did not think that there would be such a change in the graphic. You know, we thought we would still have the old houses and kind of go back to having a community school. Well, of course, change does not always happen that way, and it did not for us. So we had to grow accustomed to like a new way of thinking about our neighborhood. And as it has happened now, and of course I think it's happening all over the country, where people are coming back to the inner city, now we're faced with another group of problems, good things, because now we're finding we're building community again. New houses, many people that would not have lived in the inner city before are coming back, causing community things again. Now that we've found change in the community, which everyone wanted and many worked hard for, it also offers challenges. Like there's always a concern of regentrification. And we're feeling that. Hopefully, however, we have partners on board that, and especially those that develop the new homes, that are aware of that. And we're trying to make sure that there's some provision for those people that have been there for many, many years or not misplaced, because certainly the taxes are going to go up. We're having new property, of course, which is great, but there are going to be those properties that there's some seniors have been in for years that are going to need some repairs and this kind of thing if they're going to stay in their homes. So some of these programs are in progress. I think we're thinking about these things, and many people are working on these things. So the greatest problem I'm finding is that piece where we don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. We appreciate the newness, we appreciate the wonderful community, but we do not want to cause harm to those that are already there. But from what I'm seeing, we're seeming to struggle with that, but so far, I don't think we've been hit with that fully. And before that happens, hopefully there will be these things in place that will keep it from being as hazardous or horrible as it has been in many places that we know have gone through change, such as our neighborhood. One of those great pieces that has happened is the Harrison Arts Center, which has become a main piece for our citizens, our senior citizens. Because we had a senior group that was working in the community, looking for things to do, like which happens to seniors. There's not much really to do. But porching was introduced by the Harrison. This meant that people would be back on their porches talking. And we found it brought children back to the front. Now we're finding with people coming back into the community in the new housing and everything, we're finding families again. It's beginning to look like the neighborhood that we knew, different, but it's a good feeling because it again feels safe. It again looks like a community that you might want to live in. So those people that have stayed and done, the long haul, the hard work, we're just so happy to have been a part of it. And then now that we are seniors, we're able to participate in the porching part that Harrison presented because our seniors are able to do that. And the Harrison wanted to hear stories. Well, nobody loves to tell stories better than seniors. So it has been the great opportunity for us, programs that have come about because of the Great Triad program. We did not have any idea of what it was. Still don't know exactly what it means, but it has opened up an avenue for us to not just to be happy about being able to be a part of something, but we are able to learn about other great things in our community that we did not know just by being in the community. We're meeting others. We're able to participate, of course, with the youth, which is essential for us. And it has been such a wonderful experience that it's something that we can do. It enhances us. We're still able to grow and feel like we can contribute to something. It's exciting because it has brought art to the community, which was something that most in inner city neighborhoods lack. We've always known that. Art being introduced into the neighborhood was a great thing, and it was so much needed. But we never expected, I didn't personally ever expect to be a part of it, to the extent that I can ride through my neighborhood and all of a sudden there are these huge pictures, and I seem to be one of them. It's exciting, and I think it's exciting to neighborhood residents because it gets so many comments that they just call sometimes and say, I think I saw a picture. And I find that's happening with all of the Great Triads. So for us, we feel like we're just kind of famous all of a sudden. So I think now we're going to have to start charging, however, as with the models for these pictures. But it's exciting to feel like that you are being honored in some way, especially for those that have worked hard in the community, been a vital part of what's happening today. We know the sacrifices that were made, and it's not just those people that were, there's some people that you see their faces always. But there are those heroes and those people that have contributed so much that you do not see. And we're finding that's what's happening with these portraits that we call the Great Triads. Art is needed. This is really a necessary piece for a community to be exposed to art. Now that we have that, we have art everywhere. And not only do we have art everywhere, but we are part of it. Pre-Enact Indy, the Harrison Art Center started, about 4 years ago, I do believe. And it was just community coming out, getting together. Harrison was introducing themselves to the community, meeting people, hearing their stories. The second year, it was larger. Now, hopefully, it's just a great affair for the city as a whole. And we, as the citizens of Martindale-Briarwood particularly, we're proud because now we feel like we're part of something that, not negative, because like most inner city neighborhoods, we began to have a negative reputation. Those of us that lived here or lived there, we knew it was a great neighborhood all along, but appearance-wise, it was not. So here we are today being a part of something that's kind of old, but yet new, which we're very happy about. And we have to thank Joanna, the Harrison Art Center staff, and those people that have been so generous about extending their art with us.